I'm here with Michael Flory, founder and CEO of Custom Built. And today we're going to hear a little bit more about his story and background of how Custom Built was created and really where the passion of impacting families has come from. So Michael, could you share with us just a little bit more about your history, your family, your life growing up, and what your life has looked like?
I'm fortunate to be where I'm at today, and so I'm super excited to be able to share this story. I think most people can take away from my story is that anything's possible. Grew up in Lansing. I had an amazing childhood, and I was very athletic. I grew up with a dad that was my hockey coach and my soccer coach. I had a mom that I spent a lot of time with, and that's kind of the beginning of where everything changed. I had just finished fourth grade. A normal Sunday afternoon, my mom was getting ready to have dinner. My grandpa unexpectedly came over. He was invited for dinner, and he came in with an intent to kill his entire family and himself.
A nice, normal family. That's how neighbors we spoke with today described the Flory family. Yesterday, Melville Hemwood came over for dinner, and about 10 minutes after he arrived, he started shooting.
I was shot twice. Everybody in the home was shot. My dad was instantly killed. I can remember my mom's last words and telling me to run. I remember waking up, laying on the ground in a pool of blood.
Roughly 5 hours after the shooting, the search for Hemwood came here, to his home at 911 Clark Street. Police had received reports from nearby residents at around 11:30 of muffled gunshots. They thought Hemwood had possibly committed suicide. It turned out when they arrived, he was already gone before state police SWAT troops had come.
You had a really stable home before, both your parents were involved in your life a lot. What did life look like after that?
So the tragedy happened in my home. It happened at our dinner table.
Yeah.
It happened in our family room. What I was left with was living in an environment that was void of a mother and father. Going from a young boy with a family that I loved to be with to attending my parents' funeral, processing this stuff as a 10-year-old little boy. My brother ended up getting custody. We stayed in our home, our childhood home.
You stayed in the home that your parents were killed in.
Yeah. And I would say that was very, very, very difficult for me as a 10-year-old boy to understand a process. But I remember holding on to the things that had positive memories. Christmas time, the music, and my dad playing the organ, and I can remember the smells. But the reality of what Christmas was like that first year, the pain of being in that place over and over again, was too much for me. And as I began to become a young man, I started experiencing major depressive episodes. I was diagnosed as bipolar at the age of 15. I was at a broken place. The anger, resentment, and pain that I felt towards my grandfather. People want to know, did he go to jail? No, he didn't go to jail. He was acquitted on insanity. Whether it was for good or bad, I went to his funeral, and I was going to be able to lay to rest. This guy had finally died. To go to a funeral and to think now that he's at rest somewhere and I'm still wrestling with the mess that he left really did not bring me any closure.
So what was that moment for you, that light switch that went off to bring you to today?
For me, I didn't feel like I could do anything that I really dreamed of doing. And so it's why do I want to live? The despair and the depression and then the medications that I was on all sorts of antidepressant medications. And, some of them helped, some of them made it worse. None of them ever fixed my depression. I tried to take my life. On the way to work, I called in sick and was plotting my death, and I passed out. To this day, I couldn't tell you. I can remember the stop sign I was sitting at. I can remember the thoughts that I were having. And then I don't remember what happened, but I ended up at my sister-in-law's house. She took me in, prayed for me. And there was just a moment that night where the way I would describe it is it was like being back at that Christmas holiday. Gratitude, thanksgiving, hope, peace, joy, love on a massive level. It was unbelievable. Something happened to me that I can't explain to this day, but I began to believe that I could live healed. And I can remember a specific day. For me, this was a pivotal point in my journey of healing. Whether it's religion or in psychology, there's one thing that is really instrumental in healing. It's called forgiveness. I saw my grandfather for how broken he was as a person. I saw myself in that moment for how broken I was. And then I saw myself forgiven. And what I saw about myself is how special I was. I could see for the first time that, like, he's a broken man and I don't have to fix him. And I have this life before me, and I had hope and I had dreams. I was able to get off all of my medications. There was a dream inside of me that, man, someday I'm gonna have my own family, and someday I'm gonna be able to right the wrong. I longed for that day. And then I met my beautiful wife, Cassie, and like, oh man, like so much to unpack there, but she is an amazing woman. And that really was the beginning of the hope and in the beginning of my family, in the beginning of Custom Built beginning to rise up.
So in this video, Michael, we got to talk about your story. We got to hear your background, your childhood, and some of the pains you went through and how you've overcome some of that. And in the next video, we're gonna talk about the story of Custom Built, how this company was created, why it was created, the vision that we have, and ultimately the goal of impacting families, how it ties really close with your story.